and just not executing any of them.
Well, see, A, B, C, and D is overwhelming, because how do you work hard on 4 different things? You're only going to get as far as you get on each thing. But if you have one thing that you want to work to, then you're going to get there, because you'll put all your energy into that one thing. I know people who have 3 or 4 balls in the air and they're going, why isn't this working? Why isn't that working? It's because you're trying to do too many things. Focus on one thing, get that started, get it working, then you can add another ball to your juggling.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's sometimes that's it. And actually a piece of information, I'll ask you in a minute, Daniel, like what's something that you would advise other people, or what's like a piece of advice that you would sort of know. But I actually read this or listened to a guy speak about this before, and I thought maybe I'll sort of share what it was. The guy was speaking around instead of having 25 things in your life that you want to do, focus on 5. So the strategy is 25 to 5. So instead of focusing on 25 things, just solely focus on 5 things in your life that you want to do. And that can be around, you know, like some of my 5 could be my health, my career, travel, experiences, health, you know, fitness, which relates to health, speaking to other people. All that's my sort of 5 areas that I really enjoy. And it's just a lot of my life around it is based on that. And anyone who knows me personally will really understand my 5. And I try to incorporate that into my Instagram profile. When I meet someone, they'll understand what I do, who I am, what I'm about. And what it actually helps me do, which is very beneficial, is it allows me to be true to who I am, but also accept who I am. Because when you're doing 25 things, it's hard to keep up, because you're not really...
I think the 5 things you said, like career, health, I've forgotten the other 3, looking after yourself, reading, meeting people, you know, they're 5 things that we should be doing anyway, aren't they? We should be looking after our health. We should be working on our career or enjoying what we're doing. We should be having good interactions with people. But what I was meaning more is so you're doing those 5 things that what everybody should do. But then into that, we add something like, okay, so my career is working in disability. I want to be a counsellor. How do I get from there to there? Still enjoy my job, but also work on getting there. Because once you work out those little steps, you can get to the other places. It's actually working out which step you should take next. So it might be that you go, look, I mean, I've got really good at finding anything on Google. Like people come to me and say, can you find this for me because I need it? And I can just Google it up in no time. And they go, I've been looking for about an hour and I couldn't find what you found. So get to know a computer, get to know how to find things, research some things, and then look into how you can progress with a career, with your health. Do you need someone to help you? Do you need someone to, like a fitness trainer? But you've got to start making those small steps and making them into small goals, but not goals that you're never, ever going to achieve. You need to make them into goals that you know in 6 months' time you'll achieve that, and then you can move on to the next goal. Goals are great. They help you get to where you want to be.
Definitely. Yeah. I would do a lot of goal setting myself, and I'm really, really involved in that, and I really enjoy doing goals. Something just to add to what you're saying, Daniel, I always laugh about this, because whenever I talk to people about goals and things we want to achieve, they're like, I want this now. Like, why am I not in this career? Why am I not, you know, this fitness fanatic? Because I want to be that person. And thing I always sort of share with people, I'm sure you maybe understand, is patience. Patience is an underestimated thing. Like part of your goals or part of your process is incorporating patience into your sort of daily way of living, because a lot of people, and I think, you know, sort of going a wee bit off topic as well, like social media has impacted on that. You know, you're always seeing people's stories of the day, you're seeing the reels, you're seeing the highlights, you're seeing the posts.
But are we really seeing their real life, or are we seeing them as with their mask on?
I think I would agree that it depends on the person, on the profile, you know, like it depends on what that person's putting out to the world. When you're doing this sort of line of work with what myself and yourself are doing, you simply can't be fake. if
No.
you be fake, then you get called out, you know, and it's, and if you get called out, then people start to question what you're doing. So the person, you know, who we're talking to each other now, I would say my close friends, family, people even on our profiles would be like, yeah, that's the guy, that's just the conversation. These are the guys who were on the podcast a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And that's where the trueness is. But I do think there's a lot of sort of unseen things that go on in the background for people. So when you see an image of someone and they're on a yacht or they're on a boat or they're on whatever they're doing, that's all well and good, and that's great that they're doing that, but you don't know if they maybe got into a huge amount of debt to get on that boat. If the car, the Lamborghini, whatever they're driving is leased, it could be that they pay stupid money to just work all the time to pay for it. There's more to it. They could be depressed. They could be not happy with life. It just depends on the situation.
I think I said to you a while back that I had someone contact me and say they wanted to do a podcast. What should they talk about? What do they need to do? And I said, well, you need to find a topic that you know a lot of stuff on, because you need to talk to people about things. You need to interview people. And they said, well, how do I get to where you are? And I go, well, I started in 2019. I did do radio back 20 years ago. So I knew that I knew how to talk on radio. So I knew how to present on a podcast. I've also done some acting. So it wasn't just, well, I did just say to my mate, I want to do a podcast. Can you help me by editing it for me? And he said, yeah, no worries. But then there's finding your, the stuff you want to talk about. There's finding guests who want to talk about the things you want to talk about. It's finding time to record those podcasts, put them together. And then with Instagram, I mean, you've seen my Instagram. It can be anywhere from 5 to 20 updates a day. So I might spend an hour or 2 hours a day on Instagram, and then I get messages from people asking me to listen to their podcasts and can they be a guest on the show. So with working full time and doing a podcast, it's not all roses. There's a lot of hard work that goes in behind it. I think for every podcast, there's probably at least 3 hours work. It's finding the guest, interviewing them, editing them, promoting them on Instagram and Twitter. So it comes down to a lot of hard work. And actually, when you put the podcast up and you listen back to it when it's live and everyone else can hear it, you go, wow, that's a really good podcast. But then that podcast's gone. You know, yes, it's still there and you can go back and listen to it. But really, all that work you put in has then gone up. It's been listened to and people are waiting for the next podcast to come out, which is great. I want them to hear the next one. But some of those podcasts, I think I'd really like to say to people, you need to listen to this one 2 or 3 times because you'll really get a lot out of it. I don't know if they do. I have had a couple of people who have said, oh, that one was really good. I've listened a couple of times. But most people, it's a disposable thing, isn't it? You put all the work in and then it's gone. And then you put the work in and it's gone. So this person, I said, look, you've got to find your topic. You've got to be prepared to do, I mean, I think the first 5 or 10, I maybe had 10 listeners, you know? And when you've put 2 or 3 hours into producing a podcast and then you get 10 people listening, you're like, what did I do that for? Now that I'm getting, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, it's like, wow, that's really good because I know that 3,000 people will get something out of it because they're coming back the next week.
Definitely. And then 10 people, you know, they planted the seeds essentially, probably, you know, telling friends.
I think most of them were my friends.
Yeah. Well, you got to start somewhere, but I think what you're saying there, Daniel, as well, is, you know, you've got hundreds of people listening to your podcast now, and you've got thousands of people following you on Instagram. And I think it's a really good advocate of what we were speaking about there around patience. And I know at the very start, you wanted the instant rewards of why is hundreds of people not listening right now? And essentially through having patience and believing in yourself as well, you know, you've allowed yourself and your podcast, your profile and stuff to grow.
Yeah, and look, the good thing is now I'm really enjoying it because I've seen the growth happen. So when people go to me, oh, you look like an instant success. No, it's 2 years, you know? But it's good. Like, I really appreciate the people that listen, the people that reply on Instagram, because I know I've put in the work to get back what I'm getting. And I think we live in an instant society where people want to just be something. And, you know, there's the person down the street. I always say the thing about, like, American Idol or X Factor. You know, there's the person down the road who's learned how to play their guitar, their drums for years and years and years. They've started a band, they're trying to get a break, and then you get someone who gets a break on X Factor, which isn't a problem, but that's what a lot of people think is how life is. That you go on a show, you're going to be instantly a millionaire and you don't have to worry again. And how many of those people on those shows do we see 2-3 years down the track are back doing a normal job? They've spent all their money, there's no more record deal. So if you put in the hard yards, you're going to get something that has longevity.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's true. And it's actually quite inspiring to hear you share that as well. That makes me just want to take on today. I'm so motivated now. But yeah, that's amazing. That's class to hear. So what would you sort of say, Daniel? Because I said to you and asked you for advice. Like, what advice would you give to people? What advice would you give to me as a 28-year-old man, or people who are listening? What's something that you've learned maybe in your life that you would like to sort of pass on to others?
Well, like we just said, patience is what gets you to where you want to go, and learning everything you can about what you want to do. Because the more you learn about something, it's not a negative, it's always a positive. It's always going to move you further in the direction you want to go. Don't wish your life away. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I partied, I clubbed, I enjoyed life, I traveled all around the world, and I don't take those things back. But I think when we're younger, we don't really necessarily understand patience and compassion. Compassion towards other people will get you so far, because we've got to be compassionate. Lots of people don't have anyone else that is there for them. So if we can show compassion and empathy to whoever we meet, and if we try not to judge people, and I know that's hard because sometimes I have a thought in my head and I go, oh, I wish they hadn't done that. But, you know, if we try to learn that judging people doesn't work because they've got their ideals and where they're coming from and what they want to do, and really we're putting on our ideas onto them, which is none of our business really, is it?
No.
And the less we judge, the better we become, because we're not hanging on to all this stuff in our head where we think, oh, well, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't do that. You know, it's up to them what they do. We can discuss things with people, you know, not really give advice, but we can say, hey, if you tried it this way, that might work better for you. Then if they take that, that's good. If they don't and it works, it still might work for them. Who are we to know? We're not the oracles of life.
No,
but I do think compassion and empathy gets you a long way.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I would agree with that as well. And essentially that's how we've got to get on so well with one another. You know, we both come from an empathetic nature. We have compassion for others.
However, I will say, I think if you want to be someone who's ruthless in business, compassion and empathy isn't going to be what you go for.
Yeah,
because you're not going to care who you hurt to get to the top.
Yeah. But then I suppose that comes down to your own self-identity, and if that's the way you want to live as well, you know. So yeah, Daniel, really good chat. I'm
glad you've got the headphones on, because
I know.
before that,
I feel like a DJ or something here, you know, like with these sort of. I'm used to just the portable ones, but yeah, I'm glad.
Can I ask you, when I tagged you in a post a few weeks ago, and I tagged at the real Hugh Jackman, did he ever get back to you?
Unfortunately, he didn't. No, but as I say, you know, God loves a trier, so maybe tag him again.
Yeah. Well, I might with this.
Yes.
Is this Hugh Jackman doing an interview?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had loads of people that have listened and come along. And it's been good, and we've had lots of comments, lots of feedback. It's good. Yeah,
and for people who, you know, obviously we're coming to the end, but throughout the conversation, we did sort of set individuals who are listening a challenge of, you know, looking around you and giving the other people and trying to do something different that you don't usually do. So I really would like to hear some feedback from people who could, you know, get in touch with yourself, Daniel, or with me.
Yeah, so, they can go to lifechangesyou.com.au, listen to all the podcasts. They can find me on life_changesyou_podcast on Instagram and read all my fabulous updates all day long.
Yep, perfect. Well, Daniel, thanks very much for your time. Muchly appreciate it, and it was a really great conversation. Mate. Yep. Cheers.
Okay. I'll speak to you again soon.